that is our cue to start the webinar. Hello, everyone. I'm Adina Marabi, Partnerships Team Lead here at Okendo, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, How to Build Loyalty and Retention for Today's Evolving Customer. Just a few housekeeping items. Please enter all of your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. We'll be monitoring the chat and answering. Make sure to send to panelists and attendees or everyone. And then representatives from each organization will be in the chat to answer your questions live. And last but not least, you will receive a recording and copy of the presentation within 24 hours of the webinar. All right. I'd love if each of the panelists can introduce themselves, and we'll go ahead and kick it off with Kayla.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Kayla Castillo. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at JAXXON. We're a men's jewelry brand and definitely leading into some other categories this year, which is really exciting. I've been in this role for almost 3 years now and just really passionate about engaging with customers and kind of having that 360 view of, what the customer experience is. So it's definitely not just, a one-track thing. You really have to think of all the areas in which customers interact with. And I think that's a really exciting part of this field.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to dive a little bit more into that throughout the webinar today. Vaishali, would love for you to give an intro.
Thanks, Adina. Hi, I'm Vaishali. I'm from Loop. We're a returns management solution for Shopify brands. I am on the product marketing team there, and I focus primarily on technology integration. So it's really exciting to be here with you all today. And then the other thing I focus on, if you're interested, is our point of sale app.
Awesome. Thank you. Alex.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Adina. Yeah, great to be here. I'm Alex. I'm on the partnerships team, the technology partnerships team at Gorgias. For those who don't know, we're a help desk solution built for Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce. And similar to Vaishali, I work with a lot of partners on integrations back into our platform. So really great to be here.
Thanks for joining. And last but not least, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Klinsky. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Okendo. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Okendo, we are a customer marketing platform that helps brands create what we call super fans, and we'll get to that later in the webinar. But basically, we have a suite of solutions, including reviews, surveys, quizzes, referrals, as well as loyalty coming out early next year. So we're here to help brands become more customer-led, and super excited to have this conversation with you about loyalty and retention today.
Amazing. Well, let's go ahead and get this started. We'll start off with you, Lindsay, kicking us off with the first question. Why should brands focus on loyalty?
Yeah, I think today more than ever, it's more important to focus on loyalty. And, I'm sure this isn't news to any of you guys here as brands, but, there's inflation, there's rising costs of acquisition, there's privacy changes. It's just becoming more and more expensive to acquire new customers. And of course, you have to focus on acquisition, as a method for growing your business. But as it relates to retention, it's much cheaper to kind of offset and to be able to acquire fewer customers, but to grow more lifetime value out of the customers that you have. So in that sense, it's really important. But I would also even add it too that, you can use your loyal customers to help you drive new customers as well. So your most loyal customers that are talking about you, they're your fans, thinking about like leaving a review and getting other people to convert because they're seeing that review or things like that. So thinking about loyalty, not just in the sense of growing the LTV of your existing base, but also kind of mobilizing them to become your brand advocates. That's how you as a brand are going to be able to rely less on those traditional marketing channels and lower your cost of acquisition overall. So especially in this macroeconomic environment, really figuring out how to identify your loyal customers, how to get them to stay and remain loyal, and then how to mobilize them and have them, really becoming advocates for your brand is really important for brands today.
Definitely word of mouth marketing and just word of mouth in general is so important across all industries. Does anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, I think just adding to what Lindsay said, the profitability piece is huge too. I know on the Gorgias side, we've been doing a lot of research just into repeat customers, and it takes 3, 4 purchases in most cases for a merchant to really see profitability coming from that customer itself. So any way you can have them coming back to your brand, like Lindsay said, creating advocates, creating super fans is just super important to actually making them a long-term viable customer for you.
And Kayla, did you want to say something?
No, really, I really agree with Alex there. You know, a lot of these customers, it takes time to build up that relationship and build up that value. And, you know, it's really important to focus on that, you know, kind of the long game sometimes. You know, a lot of times we're thinking of like, what can we do right now? But you don't want to lose focus on, you know, what can you do in the future and how can you build that over time?
Vaishali, did you have any points on this question as well?
I just agree with everyone else. Word of mouth is huge. And it can just be so expensive to acquire a new customer that, to everyone's point, you really want to invest in that, continue investing in that customer so they return to you. So really focusing on an experience that drives loyalty can make a huge difference.
Definitely. At what point in a brand's growth story should they start thinking about loyalty? And Kayla, will kick it off with you.
Yeah, I really think, you know, at the beginning you should start. It's never too soon to start thinking about how you can, you know, create loyal fans of your brand, loyal customers. And I think sometimes people get caught up in like, it's too soon. We are, you know, we don't have enough going on. We really don't have the ability to do this, whether your team is small or, you know, maybe your product selection is small. But then again, if you're later in the game, don't just say like, well, it's too late now. Like maybe I need to focus on something else. I think there are always points in your journey of your brand where you can focus on loyalty. And maybe it's just about what type of, you know, focus you need to have and what you're capable of doing. And like Vaishali said, like word of mouth is huge. And that's something that you can easily do by, you know, having referral programs, having, you know, getting customers excited about your social media and having them share that with their friends, with their family. And so I think that, you know, like for us, yes, we started early with our brand, but we're always evolving. Things are always changing and you can't really get, you know, too complacent in how your things are set up because as we all know, the economy changes, the mindset of the customer changes, just so many things at play. And you really have to be able to kind of like just roll with it and find that kind of sweet spot that works for you and works for your customers and then really go with that.
That's such a great point. I think most people don't realize that your loyalty strategy can constantly be evolving. It doesn't always have to look the same. You can iterate, you can test, and really try out different strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't ever be afraid to change things up, you know, like sometimes it's scary, but you know, just go for it. All these things are learning experiences and whether it's, hey, it doesn't work out or it really does, you're going to learn from that and be able to figure out like, what can I do better? And how is that going to, you know, make the experience better for our customers and, you know, really create that lifetime value.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all are saying. It's so essential. Adina, you said like this is a strategy. I think to your point, Kayla, it can be easy to make excuses or say like it's just too early, but that's thinking of loyalty as one thing, like a points program, or as you mentioned, a referral program, when really it's thinking holistically about how do I retain my customers? What does retention look like? Retention is loyalty, loyalty is retention. So making sure that that's always top of mind when you're developing your shopping and post-purchase experience. And I think Alex can probably speak to this a lot better, but customer experience is at the heart of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lindsay, did you want to jump in? Did you have anything for this?
No, I mean, I think Vaishali, you said it exactly what I was thinking is that like, it's not just, you know, a loyalty program is a component of loyalty. So, you know, even if you're out of, you know, the early stages of your brand and you feel like, hey, like, I'm not ready for a program yet to reward everyone, there's still so many other things that you can do to build that loyalty and like just that person thinking of like your brand as something that they want to stay with. And I think, yeah, to what you said about customer experience really being at the heart of that and making sure that like every interaction, every touch point they have with you is positive and memorable. Even if it's turning a bad experience, which I think Alex could get to, and speak to you more into like something positive, that's just as important as well.
Yes. Alex, would love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay and Vaishali. It's nice teeing me up with that. That's good. Yeah, certainly I think, just the effort to actually get someone to come and make a purchase from your store is such a feat in itself that you're top of mind at that point. It makes sense that you want to start any sort of loyalty program right on the back of that. So whether it's email campaigns, Lindsay, to your point, if someone's had kind of a tough experience, it's maybe offering a discount on a future purchase they make, offering free shipping. There's a lot of things you can do right at the point of sale to try and satisfy that customer on potential challenges they had. That's super important. But the biggest thing we see is just creating that loyalty right away and giving them reasons to come back to your brand and keep your products interesting is so important. So any way you can do that through points with loyalty, email newsletters, product recommendations to come back at certain times a year, all these things are really great at boosting customer loyalty for your brand.
Great points, Alex. What are some of the most powerful strategies and best practices behind building loyalty within your customer base? And Alex, we'll start with you.
Yes, so a little similar to what I was talking about just before, I think one of the biggest things we really encourage brands to do from the Gorgias side is to start extending out in the channels they engage with brands on. Most merchants we work with traditionally will be email, right? So they'll ask questions, subscribe to a newsletter, reply back through that channel, but really starting to think about SMS, thinking about social media channels, especially organic channels, is really a great idea, not just because your cost of acquisition can be a lot lower as you diversify, but also there may be a lot of conversations happening with your brand on those channels that you may not even be aware of. So starting to think about running campaigns through social, through SMS, recommending new products. It could be different colors, different scents of something they've bought before. All are really good reasons to actually have someone come back and make a purchase through your brand, especially if they've had a good experience previously. So if we think about the Okendo integration story here, if they've made a referral to a customer, left a positive review, those are customers you want to target to have come back and make a follow-up purchase with your store.
Absolutely. Great segue into Lindsay's response.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest pieces, and it's personalizing the experience. So again, just going to this idea of like the customer experience being important, but taking it a step further and making sure not only is it positive, but does it resonate with that individual and what that individual is looking for? Like that's those extra small steps you can take to really make something like average and expected to having a customer be like, oh my God, wow, like that brand really wants to talk to me, not just, talk to me as a group of people, but they're really looking at like what I want and what I'm thinking about. And really one of the best ways, and especially again, with all the privacy concerns that I mentioned before, getting that data from customers in order to power that personalization is so key. So, what we do with reviews is we have what we call customer attributes where, you can have a review and say, I'm a beauty brand, on the review, I can say, well, what's my age? What's my skin type? What's my skin tone? What are the concerns I have? And then, that is an existing customer helping a new customer because that new customer can now go look and say, okay, who's like me? Like I have dry skin, I'm this age, will this product work for me or will it not? So that's a really important way to get that data, but it's also more a trustworthy way to get that data. Like customers now are really concerned about like, why are you asking me this? What are you going to use it for? Did you buy my data? Like they probably use that data to make their purchasing decision initially when they were looking at reviews. So when it gets to the point of you asking them for a review, like they're not going to look and be like, why are you asking me this? This is weird. Like they're kind of going to understand it because it's part, they see it. But the best part is once you get that, then you can use that data again to power that personalization. So now I know you have dry skin, and then maybe I combine it with the fact that like you live in New York, and now I can write a blog that says how to take care of your dry skin in the cold winter months, right? And all of those things, even though like, yes, you can do product recommendations, you can do all those things, but even like just relating like the content that they're going to care about, engaging them, keeping that community is all super important. And, you know, there's a ton of other ways that Okendo can help with like collecting that data, but you know, step one is collecting, and then step two is, you know, how do you use that to personalize? And like to Alex's point, you can do that across all channels. So email, SMS, on site, you know, with our Gorgias app, you can pull all that data in. So they can even say like, hey, if this product didn't work for you, but I can see you like these, you might actually like this product better. Let's like give that to you. We'll do an exchange. So much of that personalized experience, again, can really drive that loyalty with customers by showing them that like, even though it's at scale, it could be automated. It makes them feel like they are talking to a brand, to a human, and helps, again, just drive that loyalty and that like connection that they have with your brand.
Such a great point, Lindsay. And I know, you know, even as a consumer, how important it is to go through reviews and read them and align my purchasing decision with someone that has similar characteristics to me, especially if I've never bought from this company before. It really does help influence that conversion and that purchase. Vaishali and Kayla, do you have any thoughts?
Definitely. I was thinking about how Alex had said, you know, make sure you reach out if they had a positive experience, you can get them to buy again. And then Lindsay, you just ended with, even if they have a bad experience, reach out again and like offer things that you think would work better. And that's so essential, especially with returns data. It can be easy to think that someone made a return and the customer journey ends there. But this is so corny. Think of it as a loop, and they're coming back to the shopping experience. So that's an opportunity to say, hey, we heard you. You said that these pants run really large. Customers who returned this had a positive experience with these pants. Or, hey, we completely changed our fit based on your feedback. Thank you so much for even taking the time to write that review, to tell us why you were making the return. We're listening to you and we see you. And to your point, Lindsay, like that can happen at scale, and the customer can still feel that personal touch that they're seen and heard by you as a brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Going off what, you know, Vaishali said and what you all are talking about here is, you know, reaching out to customers, whether it is positive or negative. I think even just, you know, like someone leaves a really basic, you know, 5-star review, we still want to say something back to them. We still want to thank them. We still want to know that we are listening to what they have to say, because whether it is negative or positive, it is important. And I think that, you know, depending on the size of your team, even if when you think like, oh, like I don't have enough time to be reaching out to all these customers, you can find time, you can start really small. And, you know, I mean, I'll take time myself and like, hey, here's a few customers who had some weird experiences. I want to know more, because maybe they didn't give the whole story. And a lot of people they just want to talk, and they just want to give their point of view to someone who's actually going to listen and do something with that information. And so I think it's really about engaging with your customers, you know, just across the board, and finding ways to learn more about them and learn more about how those experiences are going to help your other customers.
Absolutely. And especially if someone's taking the time to leave a review, they, you know, they're engaged. They are either really happy or really unhappy. And if they are unhappy, that's an opportunity for you to leverage, you know, Gorgias, or leverage your customer support team to turn that, you know, experience around. Really good insight. So at Okendo, we're all about helping brands create super fans. Super fans are customers that are highly engaged with your brand. They have a high lifetime value, and they have a level of social reach and influence within their networks. And they're also willing to collaborate with your brand to help bring in new customers. So how can brands activate their loyal customer base to become brand advocates? And Kayla, would love to start off with you.
Yeah, I think this is such a great question, especially when we're talking about how to, you know, how to have our customers organically, you know, reach out to their friends, their family, their you know, hey, if they have maybe a small blog or just, you know, a following on socials, like how can they talk about our brand just because they like us, not because we're paying them to do so. I mean, there's easy things like referral programs. We have, you know, affiliate programs, but also just, you know, something we see within like our customer support team is we want to be really personalized with our customers. So we're always like, hey, this is my name. This is who, you know, I helped you. If you ever have an issue, you come back, you ask for me. or, you know, just kind of looking back into if they've reached out to us before. Did they buy something for a gift? Did they buy something for a wedding? And talking to them about those experiences. And what we've noticed is those are the customers who come back and they will say like, hey, I spoke to this person and they were really helpful. And what we've noticed is customers come back and they'll say, wow, it seems like you have real people on your team, and they're really like, customers like them. And so you have that kind of bit of that loyalty where it's like, you're a person I can trust. And therefore, if I can trust you, I can trust your brand. And then on the other side of it, you have fans who just, they love the brand. They love what the brand is about. They love what the products are. For us, something we're working on is we have a newly released JAXXON Club that is all about community, all about bringing our, you know, our team of athletes and influencers and celebrities together, but with, you know, our customers who enjoy the same things. And I think it's important not to forget that maybe you have customers or, you know, people who are potential customers, they're still fans of the brand. Maybe they haven't made a purchase yet. Maybe they're saving up to make that purchase. And those are still very valuable people. You know, hey, I remember when I was in grad school and college and you know, there's brands I love, but I'm like, I can't afford to shop there yet. Doesn't mean I'm not, I still like that brand. I follow them on socials. And one day I'm going to shop there, but I'm going to talk about it with other people. And I think that's where we have this aspirational feel as well. We want, you know, our fans to love what we're about, to love the message we put out, our mission. And then hopefully, yeah, you know, they'll shop with us one day, they'll talk to their friends, and it just increases, you know, your customer base, but in a really organic way, and something that's, you know, just a little bit more real, and instead of like, hey, here's our strategies of doing this and that. It's just you engaging with the community of your brand.
I love that. I love the idea of building that trust and knowing that even if someone is not a customer today, they will be one day, and you're building that community for them to ask questions, to engage with other people, and also just, you know, build that momentum.
Yes, absolutely. I really think it's, you know, it's being really genuine with people, you know, because people can see, you know, through that facade if you're pushing something that doesn't feel right. And, you know, I think that's, we've talked about what is loyalty. It's not just a program. It's not just a strategy or a solution. It's an all encompassing thing. And you have to be able to connect in those different ways and make it, you know, really genuine and authentic.
Absolutely. Anyone else have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kayla, you hit it on you know, the nail on the head. I think just in terms of like being authentic, being trustworthy, being genuine, and just having that across all of those touch points. I think one thing I'll just emphasize like even more, that you hit on a little bit, is just the power of, you know, that referral program, and how just in terms of like, as it relates to creating super fans and getting your loyal customers to talk about you, like naturally, even if you're that customer that's like waiting and waiting and waiting and you can't afford it, like you probably are, they probably are talking about your brand already, but it's a matter of like, how can you as the brand harness that word of mouth and make sure like they are talking about you, and then rewarding them. And I think the point of rewarding them, and like obviously word of mouth and just letting it happen like organically, like that's great. It's going to happen regardless of whether or not you can control it. But if you can put a program out there that rewards, not only is it helping you get a new customer, you know, especially if you're offering an incentive for like both the new customer and the referrer, but the person who's loyal, now they have an incentive to come back and make an additional purchase from you. And every time they're talking about you, now they're going to keep making like an additional purchase from you. So like, I know for myself, and like I have been obsessed with Abercrombie and Fitch since they've like rebranded over the last few years. It's probably the second or third webinar I've gone on talking about them because I'm that obsessed. But like, it's gotten to the point where my friends are like, Lindsay, like, are you getting paid by them? And I'm like, no, like, why don't they have a referral program? Because I'd probably make so many more purchases anyway. Like, I'd add that extra thing in my cart. I'd do this if I was getting rewarded from it. And like, I have gotten so many people to their store or looking, but again, if they had a coupon, maybe they would have been able to make that purchase that they were saving up for before. So doing something like that is just a better way to kind of harness probably like what's already happening within your loyal like base, and just making sure like you're taking that extra step to make sure that they like convert or add more to their order and stay with you. So I think like that's a really powerful tool as well, just to make sure, like, as it relates to super fans, that, you know, you're taking those people again who are already talking about you, already talking about your brand, and making sure that like themselves and the referrers are actually purchasing, you know, from you and taking that extra step to convert.
Anyone else? Okay. How can brands ensure that their tech stack works together to create experiences that foster customer loyalty? And Vaishali, we'll start with you.
Definitely. I would say first, make sure that they work together. So ensure that there are even integrations and that you're able to share data across your platforms. When you can share that data and you can use the data to trigger, in this case, when I think about like meaningful communication to your customers, that makes such a huge difference. For example, if a customer returns something for store credit, it's no good to you if they don't send it again. So being able to automate an email that says, hey, I saw that didn't work out for you. Customers who returned that bought this. What do you think about this? Or you didn't like the gold chain. Have you thought about silver or white gold? So offering different options for them. Or if they're returning something for a refund, asking them how you can be better, acknowledging that it didn't work out the first time around. You're not apologizing for your brand, but you're saying, hey, I have a whole catalog here for you to come back to. Another thing I think about is how we integrate with Gorgias. There's several ways we integrate with Gorgias, but one of the big ones is populating data in the Gorgias portal. Wow, sorry. So that you can take a more proactive approach. So when a customer says like, hey, where's my refund? Or I don't know how to make this return, you're able to pull up their history and say, oh, are you talking about these sunglasses that you tried to make a return on a couple of weeks ago? It didn't go through. They immediately feel seen and appreciated.
That's such a good point. And one thing that we always say at Okendo is, you know, having good reviews does help with that over purchase, over return, I guess, trend as well during the holidays, where you have customers that buy 5 different sizes or 5 different colors because they don't know what is going to look good on them. They don't know what will fit them, versus having those good reviews really does help reduce that, you know, overconsumption. And then you end up with all this extra product at the end of the holidays. Great. Lindsay, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different examples that, you know, come to mind here. I think, again, it's just making sure, like, when you're thinking about your tech stack, that you're really thinking about, like, again, just driving the customer experience. What is the experience that I want them to have? What is a positive experience? And then what are the things that can go wrong in that experience that I can make sure to prevent? And then making sure that, like, you're choosing the right tech partners, you know, that can make sure, you know, that those things don't happen and that you can have a good experience. So things that I'm thinking about just in terms of like tech stack, especially with these partners here as well, is one, if someone has returned something, don't ask them for a review. You know, like, that is prime. Like, you know, they've returned it, you know, like, and it's not that you don't want to get bad feedback, but you already know, and it's not really like worth asking them at that point. And I've gotten that where I'll get a review like, how'd you like it? And it's like, well, I just returned it. And I spoke to your CS person about like why it wasn't the right product for me. So you already know that I didn't like it. So why are you asking? Right. And then, you know, as it relates to Gorgias as well, going back to like those negative reviews, I don't think people should be afraid. Brands should not be afraid of negative reviews. Again, like, it's that idea of like, you're listening. And if you show them that you're listening, to Kayla's point, people want to be heard. It actually reflects positively on your brand. So one of the biggest things, you know, again, if you automate like anything below, you know, 3 stars and below, creates a ticket in Gorgias, team can automatically proactively like reach out and be like, hey, we saw you left us this, like, what was wrong? We, you know, sometimes people leave reviews too about like things that aren't about the product, right? Like, it got lost in shipping. It did this, especially with Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up. Even if that's not what you're asking them to review about, it's just naturally like a place for them to vent. So again, you can like publicly answer that, or privately, like have your team reach out, or even better, publicly respond on the website as well, which you can do through the Okendo Gorgias integration. It shows people that even if there was a bad experience, if you're solving it, then they don't look at that as like, oh, this was a 1-star review, I shouldn't buy this product. They look at it as, oh, this person wasn't happy, but the brand helped them. And that again builds that trust that's going to make sure like they keep coming back to you. So yeah, I think like really it's just again about like making sure your brand is talking to the customers, and like where that you can interact with them, make sure those experiences are good. That's ultimately again just like where that loyalty is going to be built from that foundation of trust, and making sure the experience is positive across the tech stack.
Thanks, Lindsay. Alex, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think just building a little bit on what Vaishali said before, especially when we think about the lens of even the Loop integration, right? 40% of all the questions Gorgias gets asked are related to where's my order, what's your return policy, how do I make an exchange? So having good systems in place to actually control that is super important. And then it ties really nicely into what Lindsay's talking about with reviews. Even if it's someone coming and wanting to make a return, if you make that process easy, you're way more likely not just to get a good review, but to have them actually make an additional purchase. So that's certainly one part of it. I think the other piece, again, this is something Vaishali touched on at the beginning there, is making sure your tech stack is working together. So an example is we might have a customer send out a discount campaign on SMS for 20% off, and then follow it up with an email campaign where it's 10% off, right? For the same thing. So you create this miscommunication. So it's super important that if you are going to have all these integrations, that you have it unified and that you have it working cohesively. So you're not creating different communication plans for different segments of your customer base.
It goes back to the integrations and the seamless kind of, use of all the apps versus having to app hop or have a ton of different tactics and strategies. All right. What are strategies for combating negative consumer experiences to retain loyal customers? And we talked a little bit about this today, but Alex, I would love for you to give a little bit more color to this question.
Yeah, for sure. And Lindsay, I think touched on a good point earlier, right? So in Gorgias from Okendo, anything 3 stars or lower will automatically trigger in our help desk platform. So support agents will see exactly what the issue was. And in fairness, a lot of times for brands, it may be something out of their control, right? It could be a delivery got mixed up once it had shipped, a package got damaged on the way to the person. So sometimes it's on the merchant, sometimes it's not. But what we found is really important in those, what we would call like a win back strategy, is to figure out what is going to satisfy that customer. So we do a lot of personalization to figure out the context of why there was a negative review and applying back with something relevant specifically to that person. So if it's a damaged product, it's sending them something new. If it's a delay in shipping times, it's a discount or loyalty points on a next purchase. If it's preparing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it could be something proactive as well, like updating your FAQ or help desk page to say, hey, by the way, we're expecting a big surge in orders. Expect a 2 or 3 week, extension in shipping times. In the case of something like our Loop integration, it could also be offering extended periods to where you can make a return or exchange as well. So there's a bunch of different things you can do to really stay ahead of eradicating those negative customer experiences that could happen or may have happened.
Awesome. And Lindsay, I feel like you talked about this a bit, but maybe we can just kind of give a bit of a summary on best practices at Okendo.
Yeah, I mean, just again, going down to like the negative, it just really comes down to like, don't be afraid. I know also like post those 1 and 2 star reviews. It's not going to hurt. I'd also, one of the other, taking aside reviews, another thing that we do is surveys, and post-purchase NPS surveys. So, getting that, like, how was your experience today? All that. I know personally, like sometimes I've gotten those and I'm probably the worst for doing this, but I'll just click like 1, 2, 3, 0 without even thinking, because I'm like trying to click out of it. But if I've had a CEO reach out to me and be like, I'm so sorry, why'd you give us a 1 today? And then I wrote back and was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I was just like annoyed I couldn't pop out. Like, don't worry about it. But had he not reached out, he would have been like, oh my God, what was the experience and what's going on? The fact that even like they took the time to reach out, again, whether or not it was automated on behalf of them or not, it's really just about like getting that feedback where you can, not being afraid of the negative data, not being afraid of the negative reviews, and then making sure that once you have that feedback, that you're actioning on it. So, you know, whether it's again, internal, publicly responding to a review, a bad review publicly, or just reaching out to that customer, letting them talk, finding out more. Again, it's just don't be afraid of the negative experience. You should be afraid of the negative experience if you're not resolving it or you're not able to help them. But if you are able to help them more times than not, like, and it's an easy resolution as well, they're going to stick with you and remain loyal because they, again, know that they can trust that you will resolve it when something goes wrong.
Absolutely. Kayla or Vaishali, do you have any comments or thoughts on this question?
I'm just thinking about how nobody likes returns. Like, if you're really honest with yourself, you're not happy that you have to go make a return. So that's already a negative experience that the product that you were so excited to get doesn't work for you. So making sure that that returns experience is really positive is so integral to building loyalty. You can have a loyal customer who maybe isn't, to Alex's point, till their third or fourth purchase, that they actually keep the product. And that's because you are creating an environment where they feel safe to take that quote risk by opening their digital wallet and making that purchase. And I imagine, Kayla, you can speak to this a lot better, that's especially true for customers who are buying high-end jewelry for the first time online.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, hey, it depends, you know, no matter what your brand sells, you know, you might not find what you like the first time. Maybe, and especially if it's an online brand, you're not in a store trying something on, you really don't know how it feels or it works. It might take some time, and just making sure the experience is really seamless and easy. And there are maybe, you know, benefits. Like I know with Loop, we really love the shop now and shop later feature. And those are, you know, really helpful. And so me, if, you know, if I was shopping and had that experience, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely willing to try more. But definitely going to like a negative experience as well. Don't be afraid of those. I know sometimes there's periods where it's like, God, it's getting kind of hard because you just see negative review. But I always say, like I say to myself, so I'm like, I feel better, but also to my team, these are always learning experiences. You talk to those customers. Sometimes you have times where someone's just really angry, and it might not even be about your brand that they're so angry. And, you know, when you take time to listen, even if it takes like an escalation, as long as they know you're going to get them to the right person who's going to listen, who's going to help, who's going to offer something that either solves the problem or is like, you know what, we couldn't avoid this, but let's try again. And we're going to either offer you a discount or something else to really make that a better experience. And I think also consumers, they want to see negative reviews, because if it's only positive, might be a little suspicious about it. You might think like, does everybody think this is that perfect? Like, I'll try it. But when you can see that, you know, customers, you know, there's ones who are giving that, you know, honest opinion, as we talked about before, like, oh, this is how tall I am, this is my build, then you know if that product's going to work for you or not, and you can relate to other people. So yeah, at the end of the day, don't be afraid of that negative, you know, those negative comments, negative reviews. You go with it. You take them as something it's going to work for your brand and it's going to help.
Yeah. And I'll just chime in because I'm seeing some little chatter in the webinar chat, which I love. And I think to address the kind of like, well, if they don't like your product, are they going to come back? And I think there's a few different ways to think about this. Like, not everyone is going to be a fit for your product. But even if you take the data from like a negative review or a negative interaction, you might end up finding that you actually have a new product you can develop to fit the needs of it, like a group that's missing. So that's, you know, something as well. We had Andy Chu from Crave Beauty at our conference a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how like they are reformulating one of their key products. And with that, they're looking at the reviews and trying to talk to customers who loved the current product versus customers who didn't, and trying to figure out like, with this reformulation, like, is it now for everyone? Is it for certain groups? Should we develop like a new version of that? So again, even if you don't save that customer, it's insightful data for you then to say, okay, well, if we're getting this feedback that like, hey, you know, again, this product isn't doing X, Y, and Z for this subset of group of customers, like maybe now you bring that to product development and say like, hey, we're getting enough people who want something that can like accomplish this solution or do this. So again, it might not save that exact customer, but it's really important for your business to help drive loyalty elsewhere. And then the other thing I will add also to address that is even if they do have a negative experience, like a loyal customer, they've one really bad experience, something goes wrong. You know, you can think of it as even if they might not be singing your praises, like direct, even if you resolve it and you're great and it's like, okay, cool, status quo, that's what I would expect them to do, right? Maybe they're not singing your praises like right after that experience, but they're sticking to your brand. You saved them from going somewhere else. And if you do that, then you have more opportunity to drive new, better experiences for that customer and continue to build that loyalty. So again, it might not mean that like every single experience you resolve, they're going to be like, oh my God, their support team was amazing. More often than not, they're probably going to be like, yeah, they resolved my problem as they should. And it was easy, great, but like, cool. But again, it saves them and it makes sure that you have more of an opportunity to continue to build that loyalty and that trust with them. So just some of my thoughts on some of the things I'm seeing in the chat there.
Thanks, Lindsay. What are customer marketing tactics to help you identify, engage, and mobilize your loyal customers and turn them into brand advocates? And Lindsay, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I've probably drilled this a million times. Obviously, reviews, you know, that's the biggest thing that you're going to get customers, again, whether or not they like your product, they don't like your product, they're talking about your product, they're talking about it publicly, and they're talking about it in a way that new customers can see and can help new customers convert. Then I talked about referrals already. So, you know, that's another great tactic again. And I should, you know, in the same vein of referrals for reviews, definitely add incentives, you know, and you can tier that. So say you leave just a regular review, maybe you get 10% off your next purchase. Whereas if you leave one with photo and video, because we know that's going to have a better impact on conversion for new customers, maybe you're going to get 15. And, you know, again, rewarding them, that encourages them to come back again. But something I haven't talked about yet is the power of a product recommendation quiz. And that is, again, going back to that idea of building loyalty from the beginning and thinking about loyalty from the beginning. So with, you know, Vaishali here, and we talked about Loop and just the idea of like returns, something like a quiz where you are asking customers like a set of questions, you know, to get them to a group of recommended products. So we have a Bed Threads. They basically like have all these different, they're a linen company and they have all these different colors basically. So what they do is based on your style, they ask, do you like coastal? Do you like modern? Like they have all these questions and then say like, these might be the perfect set of like sheets and pillowcases and all that would really go with like your aesthetic and your vibe. So one, guiding them to the right product, again, is just ensuring hopefully that they don't need to return because you helped guide them. Like there's so much decision fatigue with customers that like sometimes they can get overwhelmed and be like, all right, I'm buying this one. And then it's not the right product. And again, they might consider that negative. If you can guide them based on like their needs, their personalized individual preferences to the product that's going to be best for them, that's just like automatically setting them up on a good start with your brand. And then again, the great thing about a quiz, you can collect all that zero-party data, like all that information about their aesthetic, their vibe, you know, have all that, and then you can continue the personalization journey. So again, I think it's just about like remembering it's from the beginning. It's about those experiences that help you get to know your customers better. It's about making sure that first purchase is a good experience and then continuing, you know, to have that data and that personalization throughout. That's really going to set you up to build a long-time loyal customer that then again is more likely to turn into that brand advocate and that super fan for you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Anyone else have some thoughts on this question? All right. What are some overlooked aspects of customer experience that can make a big impact on the bottom line? And Vaishali, we'll start off with you.
Definitely. No one is surprised. I'm about to talk about returns. Because really we think returns are often an afterthought for many brands. You think if you build a solid product, which many of you probably have, that you're not going to get any returns. And the reality is that sometimes the imperfect customer fit comes through, or someone isn't fully informed, they haven't read all of the reviews, they haven't done their research, they haven't really looked at your competitors, and they might be frustrated with their purchase. And so when you are making the returns a manual process, or you're making it difficult to complete that return, and you don't even have a return policy, that customer is immediately like, man, I just wasted my money. Why did I even bother? We have seen that, in fact, like 1 in 10 customers will abandon the cart. They'll fully build it, and then they'll see the return policy and they don't like it and they abandon their cart. 50% of customers don't even shop if they don't like the return policy. So really thinking about your returns holistically, and I'm not saying like you have to go out and get a returns management solution, but start with a solid return policy. And that can go a long way with positive customer experience and can build loyalty. As I mentioned earlier, giving them that trust and giving that incentive to say, hey, try us out, work with us, we'll work with you in return.
Thank you. And Alex, we'll start off with you on this question. What have you found to be the most impactful way to delight customers?
Yeah, so from the customer support aspect, it's really interesting is beyond discounts, promotional goods, advertisements. What we actually found in a bunch of independent research that Gorgias has done is the best way to really build satisfaction and delight customers is how quickly you can respond and answer their question accurately. So ideally, it's under 2 minutes that you're responding to a specific question that's come in through email or SMS or a social channel. But beyond that, there's also a lot of work we're now doing to bring in automation and self-serve to answer questions, which has been really impactful. So if you go on to a store and you have the ability to see a help center or FAQs where a customer or potential customer can have their question answered without having to engage a support agent, that's massive. And in a lot of cases, you're taking away potential inhibitions they may have had to make a purchase. And I know Kayla and Jackson, you do a really great job of this, right? With promotional campaigns, ideas of what's coming up next, things you might want to buy, making it really easy for customers to understand your buying process, your policies, and even answer their questions themselves is really impactful way of delighting your customers.
Thank you. Kayla, this question is for you. Knowing that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is such a huge opportunity to start strong relationships with new shoppers, as well as strengthen relationships with existing customers, what experiences are you implementing this holiday season to drive loyalty?
Yeah, I think this is a great question because this is the time that people are buying gifts. There's going to be a lot of, new customers, but also, the return customers who they might have shopped with us recently, or they could have been, customers from last holiday season. And I think, as Alex just said, something that's really important is being able to respond to your customers and resolve their problem very quickly. You're busy, you're stressed. It's a crazy time. And, especially if you're trying to get a gift for somebody and you're on a strict timeline, you want to be taken care of quickly. And so, with our team over the last several years, we've really, really tried to we work on this early in the year. This is how we can best engage with our customers, quickly, efficiently, but still personalize things and still make it that same authentic way that we always are, really proud of. I think from there, it's having those options where the customers who want to get those quick answers, like just where's my order, how do I make a return, what are your policies, you have those really easy, just, in your live chat, your FAQs. But then for the customers who need more help, having the ability to, personalize it for them. Like, who are you buying this gift for? Do you need help on the website? We have a ton of customers who they're not tech savvy and they just need help going through the process. But something we want to do more now is we really want to make sure hey, we want the whole gift experience to be really exciting for you. We want you to, when you give that present, or if you're the receiver, to open it up and be like, wow, we want that wow factor. But it's we don't want everything else to suffer just so you can have that wow factor. So it's making sure that we listen to all the customers from last year. What were they looking for? Was it gift wrap? Was it a different shipping experience, or is it just making sure that we just can engage with them in a proper way? And I think what's really great with Gorgias is that, we have a record of all the conversations we've had with them. So if you just take a little time and say, hey, you shopped with us, at Valentine's Day or at Father's Day, and like, how did that work out? Is there something, we can take care of for you this time? And I think it's just about, it's having consistent quality in that customer care and still having the ability to surprise and delight.
I love that. And it's so interesting how every year preparation for Black Friday, Cyber Monday just keeps getting pushed earlier and earlier. And
Definitely does.
I think as much as we like to say we're preparing, there's still unexpected things that pop up where, maybe people are buying a month earlier, or maybe all the sales are happening sooner. And so it's kind of this like constant evolution that you have to just get around.
Yeah, you have to be ready to adapt, and like that's okay. We always say like we're ready for anything. Hey, FedEx could just disappear one day. Like who knows? A carrier loses a whole truck of stuff. You don't know what's going to happen. You really don't. And so you have your foundations, ready in place. You feel really good about it. And then everyone, I'm like, just have a good attitude. Crazy stuff's going to happen, but we're going to get through it. And, it's all about communication as well within your team so that you can communicate all the things you need to your customer.
So true. I remember when the Suez Canal was blocked, and that was a whole fiasco. All right, last question for all the panelists here. Looking ahead to 2024, what do you think the biggest opportunities or challenges will be for brands as it relates to customer loyalty? And Lindsay, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist by any means, but I would say, like, as I kind of started in the beginning, I think, I don't know if the economy is going to get worse, but I don't know if it's really going to be better and, grow exponentially from here. But I think as that relates to an opportunity and just thinking about that, it's really your time to start becoming customer led now. Like, build those loyalty programs, get your brand advocates mobilized, like compel people to start talking about your brand. That's going to give you, again, the opportunity to like rely less and spend less on all of those traditional like advertising channels. Like let your customers be your best marketing channel and really invest in loyalty now. And again, that's just going to not only like make sure you can, keep driving revenue during this time, but also, again, if the economy just, takes off and is better, like you're in a great position either way. So I think overall, it's just the biggest opportunity 2024, just becoming more customer led where you can, like really, really digging into those super fans.
Awesome. Alex, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think Lindsay touched on some really important points. I think the other challenge, and every brand on here I'm sure can attest, is just also staying relevant and staying top of mind with your customers. There's a lot of options online. There's a lot of choices to pick from in terms of products you're going to buy, sales that are happening. So I think it's a big opportunity and challenge to really just stay top of mind with your customers and potential customers this year. And I think, a lot of the themes we've been talking about around customer loyalty, staying relevant, campaigns you can do right after a purchase are great opportunities to help in achieving that retention and also grow your customer base through referrals as well.
Great point. Kayla, do you have any finishing thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. What they've said is stay relevant, listen to what your customers are looking for, and really go with that. Make sure that you're able to learn more about your customers, understand them, and don't let everything you've worked up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, just completely drop off in January and February. Don't let that be what happens because it's so immense. Continue the momentum, really go with that, and find ways to, to keep your customers loyal with all these things we've talked about today. I think we can all agree that it really is about engaging with your customers and, being authentic with them.
Absolutely. Authenticity is always key. And Vaishali, we'll end it with you.
Great. I would definitely say use your data wisely. A lot of people think that data is just past looking, and it is, but take that and be one step ahead of your customer, anticipate their needs, see their trends. I totally agree with Lindsay. We don't know where the economy is going, and it's feeling like it's continuing to tighten, and folks are closing their wallets. Think about how you can adapt your product strategy based on where your customers spent during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Think about how you can adapt your customer marketing and then your loyalty strategy as well, so that you are in many ways making them feel seen and heard without explicitly saying, like, I noticed you said this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any last remarks before we wrap up? All right.
Hope
Well,
everyone has a great Black Friday. That would be my remark. Good luck. I know it's crunch time. And we're all here, any of us, if you guys need like any more advice, but good luck. We know it's crunch time right now.
Yes, very true. Very, very true.